What's going on, guys? This is Theodore Helvavir, aka Big Teddy, and I'm here with my sister,
Maine, aka Miss Gapiku, and this is
Politicking with the Bear. For everybody that's joined us over from all the stuff that we do with the HOH Collective in terms of, the other podcasts that we have, More Than Just Surviving Life, and the IGs that we run. Anybody who's found out about this on Twitter. But if you're a listener for the first time and you're new, thank you again for being here. We hope you enjoy what you're listening to. So just to give you an idea what this is about, Politicking with the Bears, my sister and I, we come from, to give you an idea of our demographics, so give them a rundown of what you do, Maine, like in terms of schooling, little info like that.
What's up, everybody? My name is Maine. I graduated with a business management degree, summa cum laude. What's up? You know, good grades is important.
Hey.
I currently work for a really good company who remain nameless. I've been there for 5 years, and I handle liability claims.
And I am a professionally trained logistics analyst. I've done a bunch of different things, but right now, currently, I am an author. I've been branching into motivational speaking. I'm currently podcasting, not just here, but doing the More Than Just Surviving Life podcast. And we are both also on top of that world travelers. So my sister's been to more places, and that's because she's like a heavy vacationer, but I've lived more places, because I always say the difference between us is, like, my sister travels everywhere, but I pack up and then I move to a spot and then I live there and I'm like, hey, this is my new country. And so that's helped to give us a pretty broad worldview. And the reason that we're doing this, the reason that we're talking about these things is because we're both from Jersey City. And the funny thing is, no matter how much I tell people I'm a Canadian American, I constantly get questions about, how do you feel about this going on in the States? And what do you think of this president? And what do you think of this and that? You know, and it was just something that we decided to do. Everything we do, HOH Collective, we do for our people, for black and brown people, for people of color. And there's a lot of people in our age range, and just our people, period, that experience the effects of our political system globally and all the things going on, but don't always get and understand what it means or what's going on with it. And it can be a little rough as an adult to say, hey, I don't really get this. Can somebody explain it to me? I mean, it's not something people always make the effort to look up. So what we wanted to do, this is kind of a civic duty for us. You know, we wanted to talk and just give some of our perspective and views on things, what we think about it as young, educated people of color from an inner city background, and make it all a little bit more relatable and understandable, and just really get information out there on things that we care about. Because even though, like, I love my sister, but we have such completely opposing views. She's more of a conservative, and I'm a little bit harder to define. You would agree with all of that?
Yes, I would.
So something that we agreed to do is we have this thing where, out of love, where we talk and we bump heads on a topic, we'll like leave it alone so we don't fight about it, and then we'll just leave it be. But for the sake of you guys, we are going to discuss all of those topics, and we won't be leaving alone. We'll flesh out why we feel, what we think, and we'll go from there, because those things are important to discuss, and we don't always get to have these conversations in home with the people closest to us, because a lot of the time, the people that you're closest to can be the people that it's hardest to share views and convey ideas with, because the emotional bonds just get so tied up in there. So you want to tell them what we're going to be covering today?
We're going to be talking about the orange Cheeto trying to rule the United States, and we're going to be talking about the branches of government and how the GOP currently is covering 2 branches of the government. And then we're going to talk about things that you can do as residents of the U.S., which you can do to prevent some of these things that are happening to stop.
Right, and to protect yourself from them as well. I think one of the reasons that we really wanted to cover the 3 branches of government is because I think, for me, it really became clear during the Obama administration that people didn't really understand how the government worked. And that really frustrated me, because it's never that I was like exactly a super fan of Obama, but it was really interesting to watch people have views and opinions and beliefs, which people do on everything, but they didn't understand the way the shit they had views and beliefs on actually worked. And I think one of the most dangerous things to be is an uninformed, opinionated person, you know?
Exactly.
So, just to do a quick breakdown of that, so you want to tell them what the three branches of government are?
Judicial, legislative, and executive.
Correct. And
Was
so,
that a quiz? That wasn't funny.
so just to give you a quick understanding of what the judicial, legislative, and executive do, the most powerful branch is the legislative, and that's Congress. And what the legislative does is they write all the laws and they put together and form new laws to be made, right? The executive, which is the president and the presidential house and the vice president and all of that, is responsible for executing those laws and making sure that the laws are followed, right? And then the judicial branch is actually considered the least powerful, but what they do is they decide whether or not a law is unjust, and they interpret how laws are meant to be executed and ruled on, right? So what it is we have a three-tier power system to make sure there are checks and balances, because when everybody came over from England, they were so afraid of a president becoming another king that they were like, no, there needs to be sections and layers on how we put this shit together. So some people can do this, some people can do this, and some people can do this, but no one person, no one man should have all that power, in the words of Easy, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so a lot of the issue with the shit that Trump has been doing is he doesn't even understand the way the government works, like most of the people who voted for him. And so he's been on this power trip shit where I can do whatever I want to do, and because I'm the president, it's your job to just go along with that shit. But the thing about being a person in power in the States, the thing about holding any government position in the States is that none of these positions are hereditary. These are all publicly elected positions, and you have a responsibility to be a representative of the people and do for the people and do right by the people. And this is an issue with corruption that we've had for so long, that you have these publicly elected officials who are put in office on promises of taking care of people and then do whatever the fuck they want to do, in all seriousness.
Which is extremely true, because the Electoral College is what elected Trump to be president. It wasn't even the votes of the people, which superseded for
the popular
Hillary
vote,
than it
yeah.
did for the popular vote.
And he bought a lot of those Electoral College votes.
He sure did. Me being a conservative and a Republican, it kind of hurt my
She said
feelings.
that.
And I know, I can't believe I said that out loud, right? It hurts my feelings because I'm like an original Republican, where it's like, government should be separate from business. You should really
and faith
and have the American dream. If you want to run a business, the government shouldn't have their hands in this. And a businessman being our president is not necessarily good, especially since he doesn't know the difference between the Healthcare Reform Act and Obamacare. He thinks they're two different things, when Obamacare was just a name that was created by the people.
to put on the ACA, yeah.
It is a disaster.
And so for people that don't know what she's talking about, Obamacare is officially called, the real name for it is the Affordable Care Act, right? Okay, so here's part of the problem that I had. I think, and the funny thing about this is, I think Obama is like that ex that you took for granted and you fucked up with, and you're like, damn, I had a really dope situation, and I kind of want this back, but I can't get this back. And I kind of feel like that's where the country is. And I think something that frustrated me when we talk about like how people handle civic duty, we talked about this being a civic duty for us, is when Obama got elected, there's one conversation that I talk about all the time, and it never fails to upset me. And it made me really tight. I was in Jersey City, and I was on the bus, and I'm sitting in the back of the bus, and there's like these three old black men, and they were talking, and they were like, well, we got him in office. We did it. Now we just got to wait and see. And that shit made me so angry, because that is the view of so many people and so many Americans. They think that the only election that exists is the presidential, and then all work stops there, and that you just wait and see what happens, and then whatever doesn't happen as a result after that is people breaking their promises. And the issue with so many Democrats and so many young people is that people went out in numbers, even with Hillary, for the presidential elections, but nobody was voting in their local elections as far as their city and their council, their governors, you know what I mean, or their house reps. A lot of people don't even understand what those positions were and the people that were running for those. And the thing that made it so shitty and made it so dangerous is that this is not even just this past election, this is all of Obama's presidency, that the people who do know and the people who do go out and vote are the Republicans that don't have good intentions. And it's the old white people that came up and grew up in the 40s and the 50s and the 20s and the 30s and shit like that, that are doing all the voting and making all the choices. And so the thing that made Obama's presidency different is that people really started to get more woke. People started to understand and rally, like the internet can be a blessing and a curse, but I think it definitely helped educate people more. But my argument even still is that there are people that go online and they tweet and they go on Facebook and they pop off if they do that much, and then just like the presidential election, it stops there. They don't do anything else about it. So the brother minister, and in this reference I'm referring to brother minister Louis Farrakhan, and I'll paste the clip in.
President Obama does not run this country. President Obama has been chosen to govern white affairs. And if in that process we get something, it won't be because the governing powers want it. It will be because we organized and forced a government to speak to our needs.
And if you watch Selma, have you seen Selma yet?
Yes, I have.
And if you watch Selma, it's exactly what happened in that situation with Dr. King. When the issue is not yours and it doesn't affect you, then people always want you to wait until the time is right. But when the issue affects them, the time for justice is always right now. And that's a lot of what we're seeing in the backlash of these people that voted for Trump and didn't understand his platform and didn't understand what he was really going to do. And they, I'm not even going to pull any punches. They voted on the side of their whiteness. They put their race before their good sense and before their own interest.
But to touch base on something, to go back just a little bit on what you were talking about, excuse me, I just feel as though what Trump did was very similar to what Obama did. Trump made himself aware and made himself appeal to those people, those white people that live in the boonies or that feel like they don't have a fucking voice, or other Republicans that wanted fucking businesses to take over the fucking government. He made himself prevalent in those areas the same way Obama did that when he was elected in 2008. I think Obama just, the way he did it, he appealed to college students, he appealed to the Generation X and the Generation Ys and the millennials, because we are the next generation. He saw a future with us, and therefore he let us know. He was, in
but here's the difference.
Should vote. I just think Trump made himself more aware in those areas, and I think that's what the issue is, that people solely rely nowadays on social media and on the internet to find out the information that they need to know, when a lot of it, the case is just propaganda. When Obama was out here and he was speaking, people believed it. When he was speaking about change,
people believed Trump too. That's why he got elected.
Exactly.
But here's the difference between those two platforms. And I say this as an ENTJ because one of the reasons that Trump is so scary to me is because we're both ENTJs. And when I found that out and I realized, and I was like, shit. Like, I saw all the evil, negative shit I had the potential to be, and I was so thankful that I'm not that. But the difference is, Obama.
Can you elaborate on ENTJ for the people though?
Yeah, so I'll jump. Okay, so there is a grouping that a lot of people take and that I take and actually put a lot of faith in called an MBTI. And the MBTI is your Myers-Briggs personality type. And there are like 16 types in the world. And so E stands for extrovert, and you can be an E or an I. N is for intuition. T is for thinking, and J is for judging. And they call ENTJ life's natural leaders. So we're very charismatic people. We're very forward. We're very direct. We're very loud. Good or bad, like people naturally gravitate to us in a lot of situations. And he and I are both very sincere archetypes of the ENTJ personality type. And like I said, we're in the 6th percentile. There are very few people in the world. But just like Margaret Thatcher was an ENTJ, and she was a shitbag, Trump is the same, you know. And so it was scary to me because I saw the potential for what I had it in me to be. But I digress. But jumping back, the difference between the two platforms is that Obama ran on a platform of hope. Trump ran on a platform of hate. And that hate spoke to people. And it spoke to educated and uneducated white people that felt disenfranchised and felt that equality was robbing them of their rights and their position of superiority and dominance. And that's not speculation, that's a fact. If you go to a lot of social media platforms, like, it's hard for me to look on Twitter because I see all this ignorance, and you see all these comments about this white genocide that's happening as a result of people of color desiring equality, not even supremacy, equality. And they talk about the white genocide.
I just think that's ridiculous. I saw that article yesterday. It popped up on my CNN app, and it just, I don't understand. I feel like they're just harping on the idea of hope. I think back to when Obama was elected and all these white people, educated and uneducated, were so upset and they were in an uproar. And I remember I saw a video of somebody hanging a stuffed doll that looked like Obama, and they hung it and they set it on fire. And that is supposed to be okay, versus us speaking to Donald Trump, you know, out loud expressing our opinions, and he's going to shut out all of the press from his speech
that he used to love.
Exactly. And I don't know. It's just
I had a conversation. I had a conversation back in 2014 with a friend of mine, and she is the head of OWL in Oregon, and OWL is the Oregon's Women's League of Attorneys, right? And we were having a conversation about Obama, and this was before Trump even became realistically like a running candidate. We were still talking about Bernie at the time. Nobody was even taking Trump seriously. Part of the problem. Anyway,
I do believe that too. That was definitely part of the problem. Everybody was like, "No worries, he's not going to win."
The wrong people took that shit seriously, and they made it happen. Trump didn't even think it was going to happen. That's the scariest shit. And then the nigga got elected and wasn't happy about it. But jumping back, I was having a conversation with my friend Linda, who's the head of the Oregon's Women's League of Attorneys, right? And I said to her, here's the reality. Sometimes until an issue gets forced, you don't really know where you stand. America has always been largely a red state. It's just that until Obama became president, nobody really had to make a choice. And he wasn't good, he wasn't bad, he was polarizing. He made people be honest about their feelings, and they got off that fence, and America decided it was a Republican nation. And that's what happened. The edges, the progressives, have always been the progressives. That's California, that's New York, that's New Jersey, it's but the middle of the country has almost always been a red state, and that was never more clear than after Obama became president.
I agree. But then I also think when you think about states picking sides, there are states now that are teetering on not knowing what the heck they're going to do. I think when Hillary lost Ohio in the election, I think that hurt her really bad, because they always say that if a Democrat loses Ohio, or whoever the heck wins Ohio, then that's damn near just sets the tone for the entire thing. So I think when Hillary lost Ohio, that was just something that just spoke volumes, that people felt uneasy about what Obama did. But once again, I just feel like people rely on social media and
Not
do
even
their due diligence.
right, and there's a reason for that.
understand what
Not to be
Obama
grimy, but I'm disrespectful, and we know I'm disrespectful. When it comes to the masses, people are stupid, so people make stupid choices, and I think honestly, you know what galls me so much about this? Again, the number one people that voted were educated, college educated white men and women. They largely elect. We're not even talking about the uneducated white women and men, because the majority of them don't actually vote. So this is people that knew better and still put him in office. Okay? And that's the scary part, that these are our colleagues. These are people that we go to brunch with. You know what I mean? And we talk to all the time, and we've been friends with for years and didn't realize they felt this way. And to them, they don't think it's an issue. They don't think there's anything racist about it. But they really did vote on behalf of their race, and that's the wild shit. What's going on, guys? Big Teddy here. So just to give you a heads up, this episode was actually so long we broke it down into 2 parts. So we're going to end this here. Thank you for joining us this week, and episode 2 is already up for you to check out. Enjoy.